So give us a sense of what it was like to be an athlete here in the 2000s. Talk a little bit about playing in what we now call the field house. You know, some of the other teams that played. Just give us a sense of what it was like to be an athlete here.
Sure. Well, I think especially playing in that gym for all of us, there was already history there. You know, we saw they had won the championship the year before, and then you could just feel a sense of pride. And when you walked in there, and that, you know, like Coach Arvin and Coach Boucher, just it made you feel so welcome. You know, like as freshmen and whatnot, and like I think just with the atmosphere and the fans that came out to watch us play, it was unreal. Like every game, it was packed, and it made our jobs a lot easier out there on the court, you know, relaxing, because they were just out there, you know, being goofy and cheering and whatnot, and it made it a great place to play. And we had a lot of support from, you know, not only the student body, but you know, President Gould, he was there quite often, other professors and coaches, so it made it pretty nice to play there and real easy. And then, let's see, what was the other question?
Talk about just a little bit that 2002 season. We hosted a first-round tournament game against Millikan, and you know, and then later that spring,
right,
our baseball team went to the World Series. It was a really special year.
Yeah, my senior year, we ended up 26-3 that year, which was the best record ever for Lakeland women's basketball, and we got our bid into the NCAA tournament, and then we ended up hosting Millikan here, which is just unbelievable to host an NCAA tournament game with, you know, a private, smaller college like Lakeland, and we just packed that gym like so full, and the NCAA banners everywhere, and just the amount of people standing and everything. It was just, it was so cool, and we were all so pumped up, and the coaches got us so well prepared for that game, and I just remember like running out onto the court when we were taking warm-ups, and like the gym was like almost packed, and it was just so cool. You're like, oh my God, we have like an hour to wait yet before we even take the court. But it was unbelievable. And then we ended up winning that game, which then we got to play in the second round of the NCAA tournament, and we had to travel to Missouri. And didn't fare too well there, but, you know, to say the least, we had a great season, and that was really nice. And then later that spring, the baseball team, they were actually doing really, really well, and got into the Division III College World Series, and a few of us got to go and watch that, and that was really cool for a smaller Division III school to get into a national stage like that. Is just unbelievable.
Think about the teams that you played on and the other teams, the other Lakeland teams during the years that you were in school. Talk about some of the characteristics that you think defined those teams and defined, you know, not only your teammates but the other student athletes.
Right, and I know some of us that had played basketball were also multi-sport athletes, and you know, I know we support, you know, the volleyball team, and we'd go watch football and men's basketball, and you know, tennis and soccer and softball and baseball. So we definitely would support them, you know, because they were always coming to our games too, and you always kind of got to do that give and take there. And I think if I had to pick, you know, one team out of the 4 years that I played here that was pretty unique, you know, maybe my junior year, which would have been 2001, you know, we were loaded with seniors, and I was the only underclassman that started, so we had 4 seniors, and, you know, it was pretty much set to be our year, you know, and it didn't turn out to be quite that way, as we lost to Eau Claire in the NCAA tournament. But that was a pretty good, you know, team right there, and we had Julia on there, who was from Turkey, and you know, that to me is kind of crazy, you know, in and of itself. But she was a great, fantastic player, and there was a lot of athletes, like Meredith Wilmette. She was a great athlete, and I remember playing her in high school, and now I was going to be on the same team with her. It was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then with the other sports, at Lakeland, the women's volleyball team was so strong. Like the entire 4 years I was there, and they were fun to watch, and just a great atmosphere for them to play in as well, because they had quite a few fans at their games. And football games, of course, with the homecomings and whatnot, that was always a neat atmosphere. And the baseball team was always great as well, and softball and soccer. And
so it was just a lot of success.
Yeah, it really was. It really was a great time for sports during the 2000s, for sure.
What did you take away from your experience as a student athlete that you think has stuck with you over the years?
One thing that I thought was really unique and kind of sticks out vividly for me was Coach Arvin and Coach Richey. Like, not only did they teach us about the game of basketball, but more importantly, it was like the game of life. Like, we went through ups and downs during the season and hardships, and you get those in your everyday life. And whether it was trusting, using your gut instinct, or I remember, for instance, one drill that we did, we actually went to like a ropes and challenge course, and it was all about trusting your partner, because you were paired up, and basically they stood behind you, and you didn't face them, you stood the other way, and you just had to basically start leaning back and fall, and you had to trust that they were going to be there to grab you, and I think, and with every day now, you trust people you're around, and back then we were a family, really, like we had each other's backs, and they did a great job of using the FIST philosophy, which basically means like nobody sticks out. It's, you're all one person, and I think they just did such a wonderful job of teaching us about the future and about life, because at that time we were young individuals trying to mature as young ladies, and they did a great job of trying to mold us to the future and things about life, and not so much about basketball. And I mean, granted, they were tough on us, and like, you better win, and we hated to lose more than we loved to win, and it's pretty fortunate that we got to win as many games as we did, for sure.
I know that April's former players kind of have a network, and I know you do keep in contact with a lot of your former teammates. To just talk a little bit about those relationships and how they've grown and developed since you've been in school,
right,
and how neat that is.
Yeah, when you first come in as a freshman, you don't necessarily know you probably don't know any of your teammates, and then as you get closer and you're practicing every day with them and you're with them constantly, they become your best friends. And even after we graduated, it was like, wow, like everybody's gonna miss each other, because they lived in other places, and they do now. Everybody lives kind of further away, and it's a little bit tougher to keep in contact, for sure. And I guess thank God for the social network, Facebook too. I think that helps keep us in contact with former teammates, and I get to see pictures of them or what their lives have been up to. And there's quite a few that I still are able to chat with via phone and email and whatnot. But it's tough. Everybody has their own lives, but we definitely try and get in touch with each other, because we were a family at one point, is how I look at it. So
anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I guess I would like to thank the committee and the ladies and gentlemen that selected me for this honor. I mean, it's such a great accomplishment, acknowledgement. I'm just grateful for it, and pretty humbled, actually. And I'd like to thank Coach Arvin and Coach Richey for everything they've done in the past for Lakeland's women's basketball, and obviously still now. But I mean, when I had them as a coach, just all the time that they put in, they just made it look so effortless, and we all know that it wasn't. And a lot of long hours, and it just made us as athletes job so much easier out there with great coaches. And obviously like to thank the teammates too, because I think without them as well, I don't think I'd be sitting in this chair today, you know, because basketball is a team sport, and there's just no way I could have done those, you know, accomplishments without them. And thank my family, of course, for all their time and support, and go Muskies, I guess.